Hello, everyone. Welcome back to part two of the Book of Enoch, the fallen angel, an in depth look at the fallen angels, the end times prophecy, and the Son of Man. So, here we will pick up part two on Enoch journeys through heaven, earth, and Sheol. Sheol. I think it's Sheol. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but that's how I'm going to go with it. So you have Enoch being visited by angels who took solid form as humans and they take him to the heavens. So all throughout this chapter of my slideshow, I'm not going to read all of the different chapters because there's so many chapters that are tied into this one. Excuse me, there's so many different slides that tie into this one that I'm just not gonna read all of the information. But you guys can, however, pause it on those slides and you can watch them because it's a lot. It's a lot of information and it's interesting. It's all very interesting. I suggest everybody take it in as they can. So, another interesting thing, we have a Middle Earth reference in Enoch chapter 26, verse 1. He says, "And I went from thence to the middle of the earth, and I saw a blessed place in which there were trees with branches abiding and blooming of a dismembered tree." Now, you could think that that's just the middle, as in, if you're saying Asia would be the east and North America would be the west, and somewhere in the middle is the Middle Earth. That's not how it reads when you read chapter 26 in its entirety. It reads that he was going from these different hell realms, which is Sheol. Sheol is hell. He was going through them, and then all of a sudden he gets to Middle Earth, the middle of the earth, where there's all these beautiful trees of fragrance and odors and smells and cinnamon and pepper, and the tree that Adam and Eve ate from is there, and it's the garden. It's Middle Earth. It it's described as being like a perfect place, like Middle Earth is described. Okay, so he goes to the tree of wisdom where Adam and Eve ate from in chapter 32, verses 5 and 6. Then I said, "How beautiful is the tree, and how attractive is its look." Then Raphael, the holy angel who was with me, answered me and said, "This is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old in years, and thy aged mother, who were before thee, have eaten. And they learnt wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden," kicked out of Middle Earth, because they realized that they were naked. And how would they realize they're naked? Their eyes were opened, so they could see it. Okay, what does that mean? That means they went from astral bodies to physical bodies. Their eyes were only, their third eye was open, and they saw within themselves, and then they ate something outside of themselves, and then they saw that they were inside out basically, and they were naked. And that's when you get to the Bible, when it talks about God was looking for them, he couldn't find them, he was looking for them, and they were hiding because they knew they were naked. It's because we're inside out now. We think the outside is everything, but it's really inside out. That the inside is everything, and the outside is very limited. So that's how they got kicked out of the Garden of Eden. All right, so then the next point is, "And I saw the cornerstone of the earth. I saw the four winds which bear the earth and the firmament of the heaven." All right, so I put that in there because it talks about the firmament. He goes on these journeys and he sees not only the firmament, but he sees all of these different things that show him he's within a self contained place. It's self contained. has a firmament. There's something separating the outside from the inside. That's kind of important. No matter what you think of the Earth's shape, you can see that the heavens that we call the sky is a sea. It is the same thing as the oceans that we see. And there's a firmament separating the two of them. And then the next point, I saw the winds on the earth carrying the clouds. I saw the paths of the angels. I saw at the end of the earth the firmament of the heaven above. And I proceeded and saw a place which burns day and night, where there are 7 mountains of magnificent stones, 3 towards the east and 3 towards the south. Enoch 18:5. So these mountains are referring to pyramids, 3 pointing in each direction. And chapter 18 really gets into all this stuff. So, when he says mountains, think pyramid shaped. Mountains are typically pyramid shaped. They're not flattened off. They're not squared off, I should say. They're not as, some are jagged, but they're typically that type of shape, a pyramid shape. All right. It's a very odd thing that he sees, and there's 7 mountains of magnificent stones. And now, how many chakras do we have? We have 7, right? And there's one in the middle. The largest one's in the middle, and then there's 3 to either side of it. And then later on, he says something about there being 3 in the north and 3 in the west. So somehow there are these mountains of 7, and if you take any like you take the pyramid of Giza, for example, that's just a recreation. You have 3 in the east, right, in pyramid of Giza. You have 3 in the south, and they're the pyramids of Antarctica. They're in structures of 3. And then you got 3 in Mesoamerica. There's just all of these things all line up. So here's the next point. What Enoch sees next, I best describe as him seeing that the entirety of creation is a triangle or pyramid. I forgot to type that. With a section towards the top, and then the capstone sitting above that. That capstone is where the Holy One dwells. The space in between is the burning hellfires, and we currently are in the bottom portion of the triangle/pyramid. Alright, well, I have a picture to show what I think this is, which I'll get to on the next slide here. But the way that it's described is that there is a structure, and then there's a space in between, and then there's another tiny structure. And when you get through the space in between, you get to the tiny structure at the top, and it is just completely, like the greatest of everything. It's like that's heaven. It's the capstone. And remember who these people that run our simulation right now, run our world right now. Just remember what they worship. All right, so then we got the next bullet point, and I put all this in there because it's kind of important. So, but the middle one reached to heaven like the throne of God of alabaster, and the summit of the throne was of sapphire. And I saw a flaming fire, and beyond these mountains is a region, the end of the great earth. There the heavens were completed, and I saw a deep abyss with columns of heavenly fire, and among them I saw columns of fire fall, which were beyond measure, alike towards the height and towards the depth. And beyond that abyss I saw a place which had no firmament of the heaven above, and no firmly founded earth beneath it. There was no water upon it, and no birds, but it was a waste and horrible place. All right, before I go any further, all right, so imagine now, he said he's in a place that doesn't have a firmament above it. Okay, so this is where I'm talking about that pyramid without the capstone. Okay, you can see if it didn't have a capstone that you could leave outside of the pyramid, and that the rest of the pyramid is self-contained, but there's no top to it because the top is missing, and outside of the top is a deep abyss of fire, which is hell. And you have to get from this place, go through hell to get to heaven. All right, so I pick back up at 13. I saw there 7 stars, as you know, we talked about in the first one, 7. I saw there 7 stars like great burning mountains, and to me, when I inquired regarding them, the angel said, "This place is the end of heaven and earth. This has become a prison for the stars and the host of heaven. And the stars which roll over the fire are they which have transgressed the commandment of the Lord in the beginning of their rising, because they did not come forth at their appointed times. And he was wroth with them, and bound them till the time when their guilt should be consummated, even for 10,000 years." We talked about this in the first part a little bit, but you got 7 burning places. Okay, well, we have 7 chakras, which would kind of be like burning places. There's also 7 planets that were wandering stars, and now that they're all in this prison because they came to Earth when it wasn't their appointed times. So what does that even mean? How did they have appointed times? Well, if you remember from part 1, God in chapter 16 laughs at them, at the fallen angels, for using their secrets to sleep with women. He doesn't laugh, I'm just saying that he laughed. But he's angry that they use their secrets to sleep with women, and tells them, "I didn't even give you the good stuff." You know why he didn't give them the good stuff? Because the good stuff involved those who left. That once they left, at the right time, he would say, "Okay, you are all now," to all the other stars that were left, all the other luminaries that didn't leave, all the other angels that didn't leave. He tells them all, "You are all, what your job is when I tell you, is you're going to go down to earth, and all those angels who left, you're going to get rid of all of them, and all of you and the humans alike, are going to share in the most beautiful gathering ever. And you're going to be the ones that get to, persecute all those who weren't patient enough. They had to come forth before it was their time. So now you're going to get rid of them all." And they didn't last. They didn't stick around for that secret. I guess they would like to know that secret now. Looking back on it, they're probably like, "Oh yeah, we should have waited, because you were just impatient. You thought you knew everything." That's what they thought. So then the next point is Enoch chapter 27, verse 1 and 2. He says, "Then said I, for what object is this blessed land, which is entirely filled with trees, and this accursed valley between?" Okay, like I was just saying, there's an entire blessed land filled with trees. Okay, it's the bottom of the period. And then there's an accursed valley in between. Then Uriel, one of the holy angels who was with me, answered and said, "This accursed valley is for those who are accursed forever. Here shall all the accursed be gathered together, who utter with their lips against the Lord unseemly words, and of his glory speak hard things. Here shall they be gathered together, and here shall be their place of judgment." So again, the space in between is where they go for judgment. So look, this is exactly what he's describing. The pyramid. For those who are just listening to audio, we're looking at a dollar bill here. The pyramid, the all-seeing eye. The eye that's hovering above the pyramid. The symbolism that's been in front of our lives the entire time. That's the physical structure that is our earth. And if you know the dimensions of the Great Pyramid of Giza, it aligns exactly with the dimensions, the measurements of the size of the earth. I mean, completely. Graham Hancock talks about this, has talked about it many, many times. He has the exact figures. I don't have them in front of me, and I suggest that you all look them up, because this is the shape, not the earth, but the shape of the simulation. And it's been in front of our face the entire time. Lucifer comes from the eye. This should start making sense to most of you out there. This should start clicking. This should start connecting dots for you. That the pyramid, with the space in between being hell. Now, if you see right at the top, when you were looking at this picture, we're looking at the bottom portion. You look at the top where the capstone is in between, there's a space in between, but the top of the bottom part, it looks different than the rest of the edges. The rest of the edges, you can see that it's physical. And if you can imagine, that looks like it's kind of, there's no top, just exactly as Enoch described. And the one eye that's the capstone. That's where heaven is. And in order to get there, you have to climb up from the bottom. Interesting stuff, huh? Alright, then we got chapter 17 here. And you guys can, go over all of this and take it all in. I'm not going to get it all, but there's some of it I'm going to go over. It talks about the living waters, which I believe is electrified water. That's what will make it living, give it current. And then we talked about the fire of the west yesterday. Which is the setting sun. So we got verse 4 here, and they took me to the living waters and to the fire of the west, which receives every setting of the sun. And that's what I said yesterday. They talk about, in part 1, they talk about that the sun, it says the fire of the west will persecute all the luminaries of the heaven. And I said it's the setting sun is what's going to persecute all of the fallen. There it is for you. And you guys can read all of these different things. Same with chapter 18. He's talking about the whole creation, the firm foundations of the earth, and how he went to the cornerstone of the earth. The cornerstone of the earth. Okay? Is this starting to make sense to you now? And the four winds, which, there's four directions, and the firmament of the heaven. And, I suggest you guys really pause it and read over this, because this gets into all of the different colors and what stones that they are. Like one's pearl, one's jacinth, and there's all these different things that are in here that I suggest you guys read. And chapter 19, I'll read this one short. And Uriel said to me, "Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women, and their spirits, assuming many different forms, are defiling mankind, and shall lead them astray into sacrificing to demons as gods. Here shall they stand till the day of the great judgment, in which they shall be judged till they are made an end of." Which means, get rid of them. "And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens." I'm not totally sure what that means. And then Enoch says no one else is even going to see this. I'm the only one that's got shown this, and that might seem a little fishy, but he was turned into Metatron. So, how many other people had that happen? None. He's made head of all the archangels. So, some significance. And I do want to say in 19:1 right there, he says, "Here shall stand the angels who have connected themselves with women." Well, that goes back to what I said in part 1, that the uh, the consciousness mixed with the humans, and it's like the humans are walking around with a spirit attached to them. We hear about attachments all the time, and if you can imagine, take Aladdin for example, the genie. Okay, when he comes out of the lamp, he has no feet, but he comes out of the lamp. He's attached to the lamp. That's the same type of deal, but attached to humans instead of a lamp. And this was also in part 1, but I figured it was important to see here because, again, it's talking about how fearful the places that the fallen angels are going to. And here's another place that he went, and I saw fire which ran without resting and paused not from its course day or night, but ran regularly. Regularly. Now, look at 4 right there. This course of fire which thou hast seen is the fire in the west, which persecutes all the luminaries of heaven. Okay, again, we just went over that. The fire in the west is the setting sun, and that the setting sun is going to persecute all the luminaries of heaven. So when the end time is here, when the sun finally sets for its final time, it's going to persecute all the luminaries of heaven. Here we got chapter 24. Look at verse 3. And the seventh mountain was in the midst of these, and it excelled them in height, resembling the seat of a throne, and fragrant trees encircled the throne. Okay, 7 pyramids. The middle one is the largest. Makes sense. All right, chapter 26 here. Now, this is just pretty much talking about another place that he went to, Middle Earth, and how beautiful it is. You guys can pause this and read it. Saw a holy mountain. Underneath the mountain to the east, there was a stream, and it flowed towards the south. See what I mean? It was a holy mountain underneath the mountain to the east, which means it's Middle Earth, the middle of the earth, not on the surface, but actually in it. Now that's how I'm reading this. That's what's telepathically I'm picking up on. Like, yes, that's how it is. And chapters 28 and 29, and it's significant. 29 too. It says, "And I saw aromatic trees exhaling the fragrance of frankincense and myrrh, and the trees also were similar to the almond tree." So just remember that for when we get to the Son of Man in the next part, is he is talking about frankincense and myrrh without the reference to the Son of Man thousands of years before Jesus is born. All right, chapters 30 and 31. Just seeing if there's anything on here that's worth pointing out. Now you guys can read all of this. I don't want to have to read it all out. All right, 32. So something that sticks out to me is verse 2 right here. "And thence I went over the summits of all these mountains, far towards the east of the earth, and passed above the Erythraean sea, and went far from it, and passed over the angel Zotiel." Okay. Not having anything to do with the Book of Enoch, other than it says this, is the Eritrean defense forces are the ones. So the Erythraean Sea is today known as the Red Sea, which is just north of Ethiopia. Okay, and Enoch, whose calendar is used in Ethiopia to this day, which I will get to later. I'm sure there's many people saying no, Enoch's calendar had 364 days, and they used 365 days with the leap year, but uh, that's off. So I'll just briefly say it. Enoch had 360 days on the calendar, numbered days. Then there were 4 days specifically for each being that the season belongs to. So there's 4 seasons, there's 4 beings, there's 4 named days. So that's 364. Then the 365th day is the day of the Lord. They didn't have to write down the name, they didn't have to write down a number. They just knew that that was the day. There was one day of the Lord that they celebrated. That's 365. Okay, and then what's the quarter day that now we call a leap year? That is the day of the moon. And why would that be? Because the moon has 4 phases, so it takes 4 years for one full day of the moon. Okay, so each season gets a day, the sun gets a day, and every 4 years the moon gets a day. And that's how you get 365.25 days. It's that simple. And that's the book, or I'm sorry, that's the calendar that Ethiopia uses. Now, Ethiopia has, the way they have it set up is they have 12 months of 30 days, and then they have 1 month of 5 days. And then they'll have a leap year in there as well. That's not how Enoch had it. So they're just using a perverted version of the truth. So why do I say that? Because the Eritrean defense forces went into Ethiopia and slaughtered between 100 and 800 citizens in November 2020 that were protecting the Ark of the Covenant. And you know what? I'm not even sure if they got it. I know that it was attempted to be stolen. I don't know that it actually was stolen. So I'll have to look into that a little bit further. But the name sticks out, Eritrean Defense Forces. And here Enoch is talking about the Erythraean Sea. And Enoch has all these connections with Ethiopia. And it's just so much connecting there. All right, and this is the chapter where, if you guys want to read it, where Adam and Eve, or where Enoch is told that Adam and Eve ate from the tree of wisdom. So he's in the Garden of Eden when he passes over. Yeah, well, let's just go to the next verse. And I came to the Garden of Righteousness, the Garden of Eden. So verse 2 talks about the Erythraean Sea and went far from it and passed over the angel Zotiel. Okay, so why does he point that out over anything else? Because the Erythraean Sea is something he knew because he was from Ethiopia, so it was familiar to him. And that's when he came to the Garden of Righteousness, probably somewhere in Africa. And he saw beyond those trees many large trees growing there and of goodly fragrance, large, very beautiful, and glorious, and the tree of wisdom whereof they eat and know great wisdom. Okay. Then Raphael, the holy angel who was with me, answered me and said, This is the tree of wisdom, of which thy father old in years and thy aged mother who were before thee have eaten, and they learnt wisdom, and their eyes were opened, and they knew that they were naked, and they were driven out of the garden. Funny thing is, Enoch was born when Adam and Eve were both still alive, which I didn't even get to mention yesterday. And I'll say it right here, that Adam and Eve only died because the fallen angels told them that eventually they all die, that we all die eventually. So they knew murder existed because Cain murdered Abel, so they knew death was possible. They knew it was a thing, but they didn't know that they all just died eventually anyway. So when they were told that, that's what caused them to die. All right, so chapters 34, 35, and 36, they're all fairly short. And I do want to read chapter 34 here, verse 1. And from thence I went towards the north to the ends of the earth, and there I saw a great and glorious device at the ends of the whole earth. Okay, timeout. Simulation, obviously, is what he's talking about. There's a great and glorious device at the ends of the whole earth. Device. Okay. Even though it's translated, there, that's a pretty fast and hard, or I'm sorry, that's a pretty steady translation, device. That there's nothing fast and loose about that one. Then you got verse 2, and here I saw 3 portals of heaven open in the heaven. Through each of them proceed north winds. When they blow, there is cold, hail, frost, snow, dew, and rain. And out of one portal they blow for good, but when they blow through the other 2 portals, it is with violence and affliction on the earth, and they blow with violence. Super weird. And then he goes and sees this 3 portals in the east. Well, he goes towards the west. He saw 3 portals, just like he did in the east. Then he goes to the south and sees 3 portals. There's talking about portals and devices because this is a simulation. And when I say simulation, it's it's an organic simulation. It's not a computer that nothing matters. Everything matters. All right, we got chapter 41. It's talking about how the kingdom is divided. You guys can pause the video and look at all that. Chapter 40, I think I probably did that out of order, but oh well. You got the Lord of Spirits. He talks about in here. All right, now let's get to the end times prophecy. All right, this is where all of your end times prophecy comes from. Everything you hear in Christianity when they talk about hell being a real place that you go to, that you're judged when you die, that all comes from this. When they tell you that if you don't worship God, you're going to go to hell. This is what they're referring to. And worship in the sense that it is used by Enoch is that for the fallen angels were supposed to worship. They were supposed to be in a certain place doing certain things. And they didn't. They left. So it's not that you have to exactly bow down to God. It's in reference to the fallen angels and their lack of worship. All right, so 10 times prophecies, the entirety of chapter 1, all about it. Chapters 5, 4 through 9 describing it, entirety of chapter 10 describing it. So those ones I'll pause on the screen. I'll read out some of it. But those ones, I really suggest you guys go back and look at it. All right, so the next bullet point is Enoch chapter 25, 3 to 5. And he answered, saying, This high mountain, which thou hast seen, whose summit is like the throne of God, is his throne, where the holy great one, the Lord of glory, the eternal King, will sit when he shall come down to visit the earth with goodness. Pause. Remember, this is thousands of years before Jesus. These things that he is saying is not about Jesus. So when people then say these things about Jesus, that can only mean that Enoch was talking about Jesus thousands of years before Jesus existed. Nobody else has ever been claimed to be any of these things. Okay, resume number 4. And as for this fragrant tree, no mortal is permitted to touch it, till the great judgment, when he shall take vengeance on all and bring everything to its consummation forever. It shall then be given to the righteous and holy. Its fruit shall be for food to the elect. It shall be transplanted to the holy place, to the temple of the Lord, the eternal King. And what tree are they talking about? But they're talking about the tree of wisdom. They're talking about these trees that we just saw, not that we saw, but that we just went over in the last segment in visiting Earth, Heaven, and Sheol. These are the trees that are going to be for the elect and the righteous. They're going to be able to eat these wonderful trees, and everything you'll ever need is going to be from the tree. So then Enoch sees all the mansions and watches the sinners get dragged off into the place of nothingness, the abyss, the place in between the capstone and the rest of the pyramid. And then we got Enoch chapter 45, 3-6. On that day, mine elect ones shall sit on the throne of glory, and shall try their works, and their places of rest shall be innumerable, and their souls shall grow strong within them when they see mine elect ones, and those who have called upon my glorious name. Again, Jesus wasn't around at that time. Then I will cause mine elect one to dwell among them, and I will transform the heaven and make it an eternal blessing and light. And I will transform the earth and make it a blessing, and I will cause mine elect ones to dwell upon it. But the sinners and evildoers shall not set foot thereon. For I have provided and satisfied with peace my righteous ones, and have caused them to dwell before me. But for the sinners there is judgment impending with me, so that I shall destroy them from the face of the earth. Now, what does that mean? How can God, the all-loving God, then do something like this? Okay, well, think of yourself on a scale that you are God. And on the scale, so God, you are a cell for God, right? And God is a version of you on a much higher scale on the Russian nesting doll. Okay? So you want to get rid of all the things in you that make you do things that you don't want to do, or you could say make you sin, make you do these negative things. You have these negative emotions. You have all this negativity. You don't want that. You want to get rid of that. That's the same thing that we're talking about here. Is God wants that out of him. God wants to be nothing but love. So he wants to get that out of him the same way you want to get those negative emotions out, because that's what they are to God. Or they are negative emotions. They are cancers. They are hurting God. That's what it is. All right, then we continue. Enoch sees the fallen making tools of war and asks who they are for. The angel of peace replies that they are for the sinners, to kill each other during the end times. For I saw all the angels of punishment abiding there, and preparing all the instruments of Satan. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, for whom are they preparing these instruments? And he said unto me, they prepare these for the kings and the mighty of this earth, that they may thereby be destroyed. And who is he talking about? But the ones we call our government leaders and our financial leaders. And I will not refer to them as the ELITE, because that word elite means people of God. You have the Israelites, you have the Hittites. I don't really know any other people that end in ITE, but that's what it means. People of, L means God, people of God. So when you call them the elite, they love that. They're like, yes, we're the people of God. We're the elite, right? And who's their L? Lucifer, who begins his name with an L. Okay, they don't end. The elite begins with L. It doesn't end with L. Okay, just keep on remembering these things. Add these things up in your mind. All right, so 6, I didn't finish here. Verse 6. And after this, the righteous and elect one shall cause the house of his congregation to appear. Henceforth, they shall be no more hindered in the name of the Lord of spirits. And these mountains shall not stand as the earth before his righteousness, but the hills shall be as a fountain of water, and the righteous shall have rest from the oppression of sinners. Okay, what's that mean? The hills shall be as a fountain of water. Oh, man, you just heard the thunder come right through. It has been pouring rain the entire time I've been doing this. It started when I started doing this. And we have some crazy thunder here. And before I got home, it was kind of sunny. You know, it was cloudy, but that was some loud thunder that just came through. I don't know if it came through on the mic, but I felt it and heard it. So anyway, the hills shall be as a fountain of water. So it's saying the physical shall then become an astral, and you could walk right through it. You could walk through walls. You can walk through these hills. And the righteous, when we ascend, will have rest from the oppression of sinners, because they'll be stuck here. They'll be stuck as physical beings. And we won't. We'll be able to walk right through. No problem. That was Enoch chapter 53, 3-7. So chapter 54 describes what's going to happen to the fallen during the final judgment. So I'll read a little bit of that when we get there. Chapter 55 describes how the head of days destroyed the earth in vain during the flood, since it did not rid the earth of evil, and how this time he will take the children of earth away while he destroys the purveyors of evil. So how will he do that? Ascension. We will become 5D astral beings. He'll destroy everything that's left, and then he'll put us back. So what happened is, okay, well, here we go. The next bullet point. And after that, the head of days repented and said, in vain have I destroyed all who dwell on the earth. And he sware by his great name, henceforth I will not do so to all who dwell on the earth, and I will set a sign in the heaven, and this shall be a pledge of good faith between me and them forever, so long as heaven is above the earth. And this is, which again, capstone hanging above the pyramid, heaven above the earth, and this is in accordance with my command. When I have desired to take hold of them by the hand of the angels on the day of tribulation and pain because of this, I will cause my chastisement and my wrath to abide upon them, saith God, the Lord of spirits. Okay, so he's saying this is in reference to the flood, Noah's flood. He destroyed, so that there's a few times where the term head of days is used and not the Lord of spirits. So I'm taking that they are two different beings in some way. I don't know how. I don't know who it is or any of that stuff. But I don't think it's the same person as the Lord of spirits, which I said on part 1 was the wise cell of all of us combined is the most wise being. That's the Lord of spirits. The head of days is not that. I think the head of days is the physical counterpart, which some might call, I don't know, Enlil or Enki. I don't know if that's who they would be, but a lot of people associate them with the flood. So maybe, oh wow, hear all that thunder. Oh my goodness. Sounds like they're trying to break the firmament open right over top of my house. Alright, so anyway, the head of days was so disturbed that he didn't get rid of all the evil in the flood, that he said it was in vain. He killed all of those in vain because evil still survived. The giants still survived. And so the next time, all the children of earth will be taken away. while all the purveyors of evil are killed. Like, that makes much more sense. And then we'll come back to the earth, and it will be new heaven, new earth. Okay, continued again. There will be much confusion in those times. People will harm themselves and their families and not even recognize what they're doing. Does that sound familiar? Well, and what's that referring to is it says in here some different places, which I'm about to get to, but family members won't know each other and they'll be harming themselves because they're going to be so confused. They're not going to recognize what they're doing because they're so confused. Okay, so Enoch chapter 56, 6 through 8. And they shall go up and tread under the foot the land of his elect ones. And the land of his elect ones shall be before them a threshing floor and a highway. But the city of my righteous shall be a hindrance to their horses, and they shall begin to fight amongst themselves. And their right hand shall be strong against themselves, and a man shall not know his brother, nor a son his father or his mother, till there be no number of the corpses through their slaughter, and their punishment be not in vain. In those days Sheol shall open its jaws, and they shall be swallowed up therein, and their destruction shall be at an end. Sheol shall devour the sinners in the presence of the elect. Okay, so Sheol will be closed off, and all the sinners are going to be sucked right out. And this is happening to this day. What's it say? The right hand shall be strong against themselves. That's the representative of the logic brain, right? The one that is, and also the masculine energy. Like a caveman. Not creative enough to see what's happening. Too dense. Too led by the right hand. We need balance, and they're unbalanced. They're all led by masculine energy, not both. And a man shall not know his brother. Yeah, nor a son his father or his mother. And all my family, they think I'm crazy. I have this podcast. I sent them all an episode just yesterday with Jim Gale, CEO of Food Forest Abundance, and not one of them said, "Oh, thanks for sending that to me." Not one of them said, "Wow, that's amazing." Nothing. Not one single comment at all. They don't know me anymore. I don't know them anymore. This is why. They're so confused. And the Book of Enoch is telling us this thousands of years ago, that this was going to happen. All right, next point. And through its valleys proceed streams of fire, where these angels are punished who have led astray those who dwell upon the earth. But those waters shall in those days serve for the kings and the mighty and the exalted, and those who dwell on the earth, for the healing of the body, but for the punishment of the spirit. Now their spirit is full of lust, that they may be punished in their body, for they have denied the Lord of spirits, and see their punishment daily, and yet believe not in his name. So I have a note here. This is referring to water that is purifying, water that is so pure. Well, I don't know if you guys are hearing this thunder. It's really coming through over top of my headphones and everything. Water that is so pure that it burns away evil. The same effect that rubbing alcohol has on a fresh open wound. So if you have an open wound and you pour rubbing alcohol into it, it's going to clean it out, and it's going to burn like hell. This is the same idea as holy water, except we're not talking about open wounds. We're talking about pure souls, pure spirits. Is your spirit pure enough to just mix with the water and it has no effect on you? Or is it going to burn out the spirit of, the spirit is full of lust, is what they say. And they're punished in their bodies. This is talking about the fallen angels. They know that they're in their bodies. And they know it's because the Lord of Spirits, and they see that they're being punished every day, and yet they still don't believe in his name, which is Jesus Christ, the enemy of them. And he's not their enemy. Their enemies, they made him their enemies. He didn't make them their enemy, his enemies. So all they have to do is accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior, and it'll start to be cleared out. But they won't do it because they won't believe in his name, because they believe that they're all better and that they know more. And again, I say this to people all the times, the Luciferian type of attitude is that they got to the finish line and they thought that that was the end of the race. They see the finish line up ahead and they thought that's the end of the race, and they stop. And they're like, oh, I'm God. I know everything. And I mean, this is in reference to the fallen angels. I'm not suggesting any of you do anything. I don't care what anyone does. As far as whether you want to believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I have saved myself, as many Freemasons like to say on Twitter, that I have to save myself. I have. And then through me saving myself, I was then saved by Christ, by Jesus Christ, and developed a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. So I did all of the Luciferian type of things. I denied the name of Jesus and was helping people heal themselves by using the name of Christ, but not the name of Jesus. I was doing these things, and then one day I developed a personal relationship with Jesus Christ after Christ saved me from the demons that were inside my root chakra, which I talk about on many occasions all throughout my podcast. So, you guys do what you please, but this book is 3,000 years before Jesus. If that doesn't line up with you yet, just wait till we get to the part about the Son of Man. It'll be coming next part, but it'll be a doozy. Alright, so chapters 1 through 7. I'm not going to read all of it because it's a lot, but you guys should really pause this and read it all, because this is talking about what's going to happen in the end times. The Holy Great One will come forth from his dwelling, and the eternal God will tread upon the earth on Mount Sinai, and appear in the strength of his might from the heaven of heavens. And all shall be smitten with fear, and the watchers shall quake, and great fear and trembling shall seize them unto the ends of the earth. And the high mountains shall be shaken, and the high hills shall be made low, and shall melt like wax before the flame. Mud floods, anybody? The next verse, and the earth shall be wholly rent in sunder, and all that is upon the earth shall perish, and there shall be a judgment upon all men. There you go. Then 8 and 9, but with righteous he will make peace, and will protect the elect, and mercy shall be upon them, and they shall all belong to God, and they shall all be prospered, and they shall all be blessed, and he will help them all, and light shall appear unto them, and he will make peace with them. Okay, light will appear, and will be helped, and will have peace. And behold, he cometh with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, and to destroy all the ungodly, and to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness which they have ungodly committed, and of all the hard things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. So there you go. This this is all talked about in the Bible. The Bible gets it from here, from the Book of Enoch. All right, chapter 5, 4 through 6. Again, I'm not going to read it all. You guys should pause it and you should read it. Uh, but let's see, verse 5. Therefore shall ye execrate your days, and the years of your life shall perish, and the years of your destruction shall be multiplied in eternal execration, and ye shall find no mercy. 6a. In those days ye shall make your names an eternal execration unto all the righteous, and by you shall all who curse, and all the sinners and godless shall imprecate by you. And for you, the godless, there shall be a curse, and all the elect shall rejoice, and there shall be forgiveness of sins, and every mercy and peace and forbearance. There shall be salvation unto them, a goodly light. We're going to be saved by a light that will transform us. Ascension in the end times. Coming soon. All right, we got chapter 5, 7 through 9. And all the sinners, there will be no salvation. And there's going to be a curse. But for the elect, there shall be light and joy and peace, and they shall inherit the earth. So we're going to be taken off the earth. The earth is going to be wiped away and destroyed, and we're going to be given back the earth. And then there shall be bestowed upon the elect wisdom, and they shall all live and never again sin, either through ungodliness or through pride. But they who are wise shall be humble, and they shall not again transgress, nor shall they sin all the days of their life, nor shall they die of the divine anger or wrath, but they shall complete the number of the days of their life, and their lives shall be increased in peace, and the years of their joy shall be multiplied in eternal gladness and peace all the days of their life. Then you got chapter 10. Again, this is a long one, so I'm definitely not going to read this. But this gets into all of the different things that are going to happen. And this was in the time of the flood. Some of it is in the time of the flood. You know, I think this one is speaking directly to it. And again, here's the rest of chapter 10. More thunder. Oh, what happened to the bottom of this one? I don't know. And then here we go. We got Enoch asking about all the different trees and what have you, and telling us that the pyramid, the high mountain, it looks like a throne of God. Get a pyramid looking like the throne of God, because that's where God sits, is in the throne above the rest of the pyramid in the capstone. Okay. It's where the Holy Great One, the Lord of Glory, the Eternal King will sit. Okay. And this is talking about the chapter 27 is talking about where they're going to go. Chapter 41. And after that I saw all the secrets of the heavens, and how the kingdom is divided, and how the actions of men are weighed in the balance. And there I saw the mansions of the elect, and the mansions of the holy, and mine eyes saw there all the sinners being driven from thence, which deny the name of the Lord of spirits, and being dragged off, and they could not abide because of the punishment which proceeds from the Lord of spirits. And then so chapter 45 is from the book of parables, so that's why the first one it says in this is the second parable, so it's called a book of parables. And you just read all of this, take it all in, and understand that this is thousands of years before Jesus. Calling mine elect one. Verse 3, on that day mine elect one shall sit on the throne of glory and shall try their works, and their places of rest shall be innumerable, and their souls shall grow strong within them when they see mine elect ones, and those who have called upon my glorious name. So when it happens, we're going to be like, oh, what's happening? And then we'll see other people. We'll be like, oh, okay. Oh, I know these people. They all love God the way I love God, and we're the elect ones. And then you got verse 4, then I will cause mine elect one to dwell among them, and I will transform the heaven and make it an eternal blessing and light. And I will transform the earth and make it a blessing, and I will cause mine elect ones to dwell upon it. But the sinners and evildoers shall not set foot therein. Chapter 48. Again, talking about the end times prophecy. I suggest you pause it and read all that. Chapter 50. It's out of order here because I went and I took the chapters and put them in according to what they coincide with, according to my different breakdowns. And all of these ones have everything to do with the end times prophecy. Chapter 51. For in those days the elect one shall arise, and he shall choose the righteous and holy from among them. For the day has drawn nigh that they should be saved. And the elect one shall in those days sit on my throne, and his mouth shall pour forth all the secrets of wisdom and counsel. For the Lord of spirits hath given to him and hath glorified him. Okay, so just, this is not a conspiracy theorist. A lot of people like to say, oh, the end times, oh, that doesn't exist. People have been saying that for hundreds of years. Well, okay, just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean it's not going to happen. People get so caught up in the stupidity of life that they're like, oh, well, it never happened before, so that means it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's only going to happen once. So obviously it didn't happen before. This isn't some guy who's just dreaming this up, in the year 2000, 1970, or 1930s. This is 3,000 years before Jesus, 3,000 plus years before Jesus. It really doesn't make any sense to take this not for its word, because there's so much to it that he predicted, and there's so much that he knew, that he shared, that to say, oh, this can't be real, it's just, it's just asinine thinking, really. But whatever. People can think what they want. Chapter 52, 6 through 9. So this one's a good one. Verse 6, and these mountains which thine eyes have seen, the mountain of iron, and the mountain of copper, and the mountain of silver, and the mountain of gold, and the mountain of soft metal, which is mercury, and the mountain of lead, all these shall be in the presence of the elect one as wax before the fire, and like the water which streams down from above upon those mountains, and they shall become powerless before his feet. And it shall come to pass in those days that none shall be saved, either by gold or by silver, and none be able to escape. And there shall be no iron for war, nor shall one clothe himself with a breastplate. Bronze shall be of no service, and tin shall be of no service, and shall not be esteemed, and lead shall not be desired. And all these things shall be denied and destroyed from the surface of the earth when the elect one shall appear before the face of the Lord of spirits. The end times. Money's going to be worthless. What's happening right now? You have relief fund after relief fund being driven out there. 1.9 trillion after 1.9 trillion, all these fake things that they're doing to only then wipe it all away and say, oh, it doesn't exist any longer. It's not worth anything. Chapter 53. For I saw all the angels of punishment abiding and preparing all the instruments of Satan. And I asked the angel of peace who went with me, for whom they are preparing these instruments. And he said unto me, They prepare these for the kings and the mighty of this earth, that they may thereby be destroyed. And after this the righteous and elect one shall cause the house of his congregation to appear. Henceforth they shall be no more hindered in the name of the Lord of spirits. And these mountains shall not stand as the earth before his righteousness, but the hills shall be as a fountain of water, and the righteous shall have rest from the oppression of sinners. Okay, the instruments that he's talking about are instruments of death, swords, guns, whatever, weapons that they're going to use on each other. And those who aren't of violence will just back away, kind of like that Homer Simpson meme where he backs into the bush and then he comes back out. Well, we're going to back into the bush, which is out of earth, let them kill each other, and then we're going to come back. Because they're all going to kill each other. That's what's going to happen, because they're so driven by madness from fear and anger and hatred that they're going to kill each other. It's just going to keep growing and growing unless each individual does something about it, and everyone has the power to do it through free will. There you go, chapter 54. Now you can read all that. Chapter 55. Oh, we already went over all this. Chapter 56. Again, we went over this already. 57. All these things are just talking about all the end times prophecy. And 58. Chapter 61, 5 through 10. Chapter 63. I mean, this is a lot of stuff, so I hope you guys pause this and read it. And for anyone just listening to the audio, you gotta come check out the video portion, because some of the stuff you'll want to know. And maybe I'm just skipping over right now, and it might be more important than I'm even realizing at the moment. But here we go, chapter 63, verse 11. And after that their faces shall be filled with darkness and shame before that Son of Man, and they shall be driven from his presence, and the sword shall abide before his face in their midst. Thus spake the Lord of spirits. This is the ordinance and judgment with respect to the mighty and the kings and the exalted and those who possess the earth before the Lord of spirits. Now it's the Son of Man. The Son of Man being mentioned thousands of years before Jesus. Alright, and then we got the last page here is chapter 67, verse 7 and 8. And again, this is referring to the water that's so pure that it burns away evil. Alright, well, that's going to do it for part 2. If you guys enjoy this, give it a like, give it a share. Visit my website, emmanuelkingman.com. The link will be in the description. Check out my podcast, Godcast, the Goodness Over Darkness podcast. Check out the blog on my website. Check out the photos on my website, the photos of the clouds, and I point them out. Signs shall be in the heavens when the end days are near, and point out many different beings. And it all started one fateful day. But that's for another time, for another video. This will do it for this. I hope you all have a great day.